Hi everybody, this is Sheldon St. Clair and this is the Saturday Project Management Today show. Hope you've had a blessed week, hope you've really enjoyed yourself, and we've got 20 minutes, so let me get started. Right, I wanted to change the format of today's broadcast. I've been receiving a number of questions over the previous weeks, so I thought I would devote today's broadcast to reading those questions out and answering them as best I can. I have got kind of like the prepared questions and prepared answers as well. So kind of bear with me. I will need again my kind of like my lovely assistant, Miss Glasses. So I'll put that on. So as I say, I'll kind of read the questions out. There are 5 questions, and for each question I've got 2-3 answers for that. Hope you find that useful. Hope you find that helpful. Share, comment, and like, and let's go for it. Okay. This is in no particular order. I'm protecting the anonymity of the hi person who's just viewed. Thank you. So basically I've received morning Adam, morning, hope you've had a good week, sir. Right, as I mentioned, I'm changing the format slightly. I've got some questions that has been raised, project management related ones, and I've got answers as well to those. So let me hopefully we can get through all 5 in the 20 minutes that I've got available to me. Okay, putting these on now. I can see. It's either vanity or stupidity, I don't know, but I've only been wearing glasses for a couple of years now and I'm still not used to it. This is a guy who had 20/20 vision, and now no offence for those who wear glasses, okay? Wasn't my intention. Okay. Let me get started, let's talking. Okay, so the first question is about someone having a hard time making decisions. And how to make better decisions next time. Now, to me, decision making is a science. There's lots of books, there's lots of articles, there's lots of PDF ebooks that you can read all about making effective and or being an effective and an efficient decision maker. I've got about 8 things for you to consider. Not to do all of them. Oh, thank you. As my son says, I look less ugly, so yeah, there you go. Everyone in the family wears glasses. I'm the last one to have held out. But yeah. Okay, so I've got 5 questions. Sorry, 8 points around making decisions, okay? So I'm just going to read those out. So the first one is learning from experience. So when you make decisions, do you actually make notes to get the context of how you arrived at that decision? What were the inputs into you come up with that decision? And do you record it? So that next time you have a similar question, a similar scenario, you can always go back to say, okay, then this particular decision was a lot like what I'd done previously. What do I do with that? Okay, so it is like running a project. When you run a project, what you're supposed to do is note down your lessons learnt, what you've learnt, your assumptions, your dependencies, and then when you get a similar project, you can go back to a previous one to say, okay, then this is what I've done to make things faster, to make things better, to make things cheaper, and to make things less stressful. Well, once I've reached the 8 points, we'll see whether it's okay to make mistakes. I think your answer to that question, I think my answer is probably yes, but let's go through the science of making decisions. But thank you very much for your engagement. Thank you very much. Okay, so the second one is entertaining doubt. Okay, I think throughout these 8 points, what we basically be saying is that once you've made a decision, you need to test it. Okay, that's the best way that you can actually look at whether this is the better decision. Okay, so you entertain doubt. I've arrived at something, but I need to test that decision. Okay, so that's like point number 2. And thirdly, give yourself options. So like, for instance, if you're say in my case, when I needed someone to do a fitted kitchen previously, or even needing the house rewired, I got one quote. And that's not really a decision at all, is it? I like the company, but I only got one quote. Getting two quotes is still not a good decision because basically it's a yes-no answer. It's always best to kind of have three options for whatever you do. That gives you the best possible outcome for coming up with a great decision. So three options, yeah? Don't do like me and just kind of like, I like this, I'll make a decision based on emotion rather than on logic, rather than science, rather than on facts. Okay. Argue it out. So you come up with a decision, talk it through with somebody, debate it with somebody. Okay, is this the best decision that I've arrived at? Point 5, understand your decision. Okay, so again, you've come up with an idea, you come up with a decision, but you need to stress test it. You need to test it. And you need to talk to people about it rather than, okay, I've arrived at something, therefore that's it. Yeah? Point 6, carry out, again, you don't have to do all of these points. These are just things for you to consider. Yes? So test it out. You've arrived at a decision, kind of work it out in your head or work it out in pilots, prototype your decision. This is particularly useful in project management, but even if you're saying, for instance, running events, okay, within YYC, within ITA, you do events, you do broadcasts. So whatever you come up with, you test it, okay, you doubt it, you discuss it, yes. Point 7, once you've actually kind of like gone through these various scenarios, you've tested it, you doubt it, you look at various options, it can give you confidence that you've arrived at a good decision. It doesn't have to be kind of like hours and days and weeks, but if you've got this mental process in terms of, I come up with something, is this the best option? Are there different scenarios? Yes? And then point 8, this is an interesting one, and it kind of goes back to what you're saying, Adam. Assume that your decision is a failure. Assume it was wrong. Okay, what do you do next? Yeah, you look at kind of like what could have caused the failure. And by running through that scenario in your head, you can even come up with an improved decision on what you've got or a new one. Okay, so this is basically kind of like point number 1, and it is about how to make better decisions. Treat it as a science. Don't accept, I think it's funny because sometimes people say, okay, your gut feel, your intuition, hi Sabrina, your gut feel, your intuition, your subconscious, the first thing that comes to your head, that is the best decision. But what I'm kind of like coming up with as alternative in terms of, okay, you need to test it out. You need to look at you need to test it against different scenarios to convince yourself that yes, this gut feel, this kind of like emotion-based decision is in fact the correct one. How am I doing for time? Gosh, I've run out of time. Oh dear. Okay, so that's question number 1, making better decisions. Question number 2 of 5, hopefully I can get through those. Question number 2 is, again, that was raised to me. So I love these questions. So, okay, I spent time having to prepare for them. But if you've got questions, please let me know what they are and I'll come back to you. So, so question number 2 is, how can a project manager improve communication in their team? Now, very important, communication, connections, networking makes the world go round, and all successful project managers, all successful people find a way to communicate, whether it's their ideas, whether it's their vision, whether it's their mission. So as a project manager, or as a person managing a team, or managing people, or engaging with people, how do you communicate with them better? So if you're in a meeting situation, what a lot of people don't do, simple things, bring an agenda to the meeting. So at least people are aware of what will be discussed, and it improves decision making. You get into a result, you get into an outcome. So a lot of the time people kind of are in meetings and they're not quite sure why I'm there. If you've got, or how can I contribute? If you've got an agenda, particularly if it's kind of like shared previously, or before the meeting, then you're going to have a productive meeting, or better, or a more productive meeting. Okay. And also at this meeting, you know, again, what a lot of people don't do, they don't state the purpose and the benefit of the meeting. So, you know, you've got 8, 9, 10 people joining. Everyone's got kind of like different ideas of what the purpose of the meeting is. There's no kind of like agenda, and it's a free-for-all. It's wasted time. Hi, Sandra. Gosh, a lot of people awake at 10 o'clock. Before I was doing these broadcasts, I'll probably be asleep. So well done for joining the show. Just for your information, Sandra, where kind of I've received a number of questions during my previous broadcasts, and what I'm doing, I'm taking 5 of them and I'm providing answers to them. Okay, so the first one is about making better decisions, and this one is about kind of communications. Okay, and what you can also do to aid communications in your team, particularly as a project manager, but also if you're staging events or other things, is to share a program or a project status report. So again, in projects, what are we interested in? We're interested in costs in the main. We're interested in timescale in the main. We're interested in budgets. We're interested in stakeholders. We're interested in deadlines. We're interested in dates. We're interested in milestones. So again, at that meeting, are you sharing that information? Which, in terms of costs, are we red, which means that we're over budget? Are we amber, means that we're reaching our budget? Or are we green, i.e. we're in budget? Okay, what's the important drivers? What's the important levers for you where you work? Whether you're a business owner, whether you work in a company or what have you, what do you share? It will differ depending on your audience. Okay. And then finally, okay, I can't even read my handwriting. Yeah. Okay, this is kind of like when you're starting a project or starting anything. Say you're running an event. What you can do with your team before you even start at your initial meeting is to set your expectations on how you see things progressing. People know what their roles and responsibilities are. People know that if they need to escalate, this is how we escalate. This is the process for escalating problems. These are the people you should talk to. If kind of like there are things that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing, then what's the procedure? What's the process for either not doing it or incorporating that into your original plan? Okay, so those are the 3 things that I believe can aid you communicate with your team better. Okay, these are just kind of food for thought. It's not prescriptive. It's a case of these are my ideas. Well, I've used them. It's a bit more than ideas. It's things that I've done and things that I know work. But it's for my environment, it works. For your environment, you may need to tweak. Okay, so that's question 2. Question 3 is, yeah. Okay, so what do you do if your project is falling apart? Okay, you had your project plan as we talked about previously, you had your communications plan, you had your risk plan, you've got your business case so you know what you should be doing and more importantly what you shouldn't be doing, or your project charter, but things aren't going to plan in a bad way. Okay, what do you do? What can you do? Okay, so again, my 3 points I'm going to raise. Okay, let me kind of like read it. Okay, so point number 1. I've got 10 minutes. Point number 1. I probably should be reading this more than actually looking into the camera. Okay, point number 1. A lot of the time when projects aren't going to plan or projects are falling apart or your event is falling apart, it's because what you agreed to do in the business case or in the project charter or in your mind or in discussions, you're not doing it. You're doing extra stuff. You're doing different stuff. We call this scope creep, or we call this items you're doing out of scope. Okay, you're supposed to do these 5 things. You're probably doing 2 of them, but you're doing these 5 things. So that's the problem, and that's why lots of projects kind of fall apart. So what you need to do is to look at these 5 things that you're doing, these out of scope things, and to say, well, why am I doing it? what's the business justification for doing these things as opposed to these things that was agreed in the business case? Okay, and what's the cost of doing these things? Okay, so you identify the problem, and then you get a business justification for doing it. Once you've got the business justification and the cost, you go to your sponsor to say, well, hey, yeah, I'm doing these things. This is the justification. This is the cost. Please prioritize this for me. Well, should we be doing it? And if we should be doing it, please prioritize it. Once you've done that, you say, okay, then this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what you're asking me to do. Okay. So let me put my note before I kind of yeah, okay. This is kind of like what you asked me to do, but we're doing all this. Okay, then do we need to merge them together? And that might increase our cost. That might increase our the date for completion, and it's certainly going to increase kind of like our resources. And then if kind of like, you know, we're approving those, then you re-baseline your project. Okay, so therefore, if your project is falling apart, that could be one reason why. You're doing things that you weren't asked to do in the first place. But if you're now determined to do it and you've got approval to do it, you need to re-baseline your project. Okay. The second thing that you can do if your project is falling apart is to, let's see, again, you look at what your outstanding tasks are, what your outstanding activities are. You put dates against it, you put costs against it. And then you go to your stakeholders to say, well, okay, our project is hanging on by its threads, it's falling apart. These are the things that are still outstanding. This is the cost. And then you go to your stakeholders and then they can decide, okay, then do all those things, but then that means that the cost might increase and the timescale might increase. Or they might say, okay, this is the money that we're giving you, do what you can. Or they might say, no, we've got to hit this date. What can you cut out? What can you remove? Okay, so in project management, the three things that you're always interested in, the three levers that you've got to play with, is the time scale. For events, you can't really move the time scale because that's it. The cost, you can always add more budget if you can afford it. And the scope, what you're delivering. You know, I wanted to have 10 speakers at my event, but because my project is delayed, I'm now just going to have 5 because the date can't move and I've got no more money. Okay, so that's an example of scope. You're cutting back the features of what you're going to do. We were going to have goodie bags for people, no more goodie bags. Okay, I'm organising a Christmas party. We were going to have music. Well, we're still going to have music, but no entertainers. Yes? So those are the three things. They call it a triangle. It's basically your project triangle. Okay. And the third thing that you can do, if your project is falling apart, is look at, okay, before we give solutions, look at is there a root cause? Is there a reason why the project is delayed? Is it because the vendor is not, or the third party is not giving you what they promised? Is because you haven't got resources, or you had resources but they were pulled off to work somewhere else? Okay, that's another reason kind of like why your project might be falling apart. So again, you need to look at the root cause. 5 minutes. Okay, so that's point number 3. Just in recap, the first thing we spoke about was the science of making better decisions. The second thing we spoke about was in terms of improving communications in your team. And what we've just talked about now is what to do if your project is falling apart. Okay. Okay. Hi, Beata. I hope that you enjoyed your. From what I've seen, from what I've heard, you had a marvelous time in Poland. I would say congratulations in Poland, but I don't speak Polish. So what can I say? Perhaps next time. You know, I can barely speak English, let alone any other foreign language. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about on 4 or 5, look at my time, is how to be a mentor. Now, a lot of times when people get to a certain age, or they get a lot of experience and knowledge and expertise. They want to leave a legacy. They want to give back. They want to kind of like pass on their knowledge to the benefits of an individual or a team. So how do you kind of like become a mentor? Again, my 3 answers, always in terms of 3. So we kind of read this. Yes, so what you can kind of like do, what a good mentor can do, and what I kind of have done is kind of, not me, it's not like me, what a mentor can do is when you've got a colleague or friend or member of the family, what have you, what you can do is speak to it's not about you, it's about them. You can speak to their fears, their worries, their dreams, their inspirations, their desires, and their journey in terms of kind of like where they are to where they want to be. I'm talking about mentorship from a project management perspective. I haven't been a mentor. That's not true, actually. I've been, but I'm talking about project management. I've been a mentor in other areas, but it's about project management we're talking about here today. But you can take that and you can apply it to your own industry, your own business, your own circumstances, your own environment. But it's really about, okay, you're talking to people's fears, their dreams, their desires, and where they are, their as is, to where they want to get to, their to be. So that's one thing that you can do as a good mentor. Never about you, always about them. Okay. What you can also kind of like do, what they can also do, what you can do is actually, there's lots of mentoring programs, particularly in project management. There's kind of like, there's networking groups that you can join. There's chapters of organizations you can join. So you can always kind of point them in the direction of that environment, or set them homework in terms of, okay, is there people, is there a group, is there a body, professional body that you can talk to, and or is there anybody else that you can talk to about it? Okay, so again, a mentor is about kind of like getting people to find solutions and to own that solution. Just my definition. Okay. And then finally, mentoring, for me, is not just a one-off thing, something that I've done with a colleague and that's it. You can actually make it into a discipline where you can actually manage your project via mentoring. You can manage your team kind of like using this technique as well. Certainly, good project managers or experienced project managers, they do a lot of mentoring to younger junior staff. They do a lot of coaching. They do training, as well as the motivational and the inspirational skills as well. But it's all about giving back, and again, it's all about speaking to people's fears, speaking to people's worries, speaking to people's dreams and aspirations, speaking to in terms of their desires, whether it's a promotion, whether it's to work in a different industry, whether it's to work overseas, or looking at, okay, where they are to where they want to be. And it could be to get from where you are to where you want to be. There could be books that you need to read. There could be certificates that you need to obtain. There's probably training or courses or people that you can speak to. A mentor. So, yeah. And then finally, point 5. Okay, it's 20 minutes. Yeah. So finally, point 5. This is the common, read it out now, I've definitely run out of time. The common project reporting mistakes to avoid. Okay, so again, there's 3 answers, in terms of, okay, what does not necessarily kind of like what a good project reporting, a project report looks like. That can be covered off kind of like, we've run out of time to do that anyway. The things that you can avoid. Now, a lot of the time, project reports are produced to get decisions from your stakeholders and from your sponsors, and to give them confidence that you know what you're doing and the project is being run properly. It's been run efficiently, it's been run effectively, and it will deliver what was in the business case. It will deliver what was in the project charter to time, to budget, and all the features are there. Okay, so you use reports to do that. But okay, there's 5 things that you can avoid when you're doing your reports. The first thing is not including what your audience needs. Now, excuse me, if your audience consists of, say, a senior manager or a program manager or a board director or a business owner or a team member or staff, you're going to need different reports. One size doesn't fit all when you're doing reports. For some people, it'll be too detailed. For some people, it'll be too much. It'll be not enough. It'll be too detailed. What's the opposite? Too detailed? Not enough detailed. Gosh. Yeah. So therefore, you need to kind of look at the needs of your audience. Now, again, from a project management perspective, and even from a business perspective, we spoke previously about having a stakeholder register. So these are all the key people that can impact my project in a positive way or a negative way. So that's a list of people that you can say, okay, if I'm going to give them information about my project, what is their role, what's their responsibility, what's their influence, what's their impact on the project, how frequently should I provide them with information, and what format should that information be in. Okay, and again, you can use your communications plan to that end as well. Okay, so when you're producing a report for anybody who looks like a presentation, your presentation you tailor to your audience to get the best decision, whether it's to like you, whether it's to buy your product, whether it's to make you famous, what have you. Okay, same as a report. Point two, not using. Maxine E, I apologise. I'm seriously running over. My apologies for that. I'll be done in 3 minutes. sorry. I didn't think I had enough information to last 20 minutes actually, but I have. Yeah. Okay. So point two, lack of standardised reports or standardised templates. If you're in an organisation, there's no point in one project manager says, okay, this is how I'll do my reports like this. And somebody else says, okay, I'll do another format like that. It's not consistent. It doesn't help the audience. So it's always better to have one standard, one template, and say everybody uses that. It's consistent. People know how to use it, and the audience will understand the information better because it's all a consistent approach. Okay, so a report can say, okay, then what does my cost look like? What do my risk and issues look like? What do my kind of like resource status looks like? What does my dates look like? What do my milestones look like? What's the commentary against my project or my program? What's the next step? What have I achieved? Yes. What deliverables have been realised? What deliverables are going to be completed for the next reporting cycle? Okay, so that's the kind of information that you can have in a template. If you want kind of like a template for reporting or any other project management and project management reports or what have you, then let me know. I've got loads of them that I've created. Okay, so and again, point three, too much data. Okay, yeah, so too much data. So again, if I'm a senior manager, if I'm a director, I don't want to see kind of like the details of 50 projects. What I'm interested in, how do those projects impact on my business strategy? How do these projects impact on my business goals? How do these projects or programs input on my business objectives? That's really what I'm interested in. I'm interested in my business things. And how do these projects and programs impact on that? Is it delayed? Is it on time? Or is it going to be late? Okay. So again, you need to know what your needs of your audiences are. And you can use dashboards. Dashboards is an excellent way of kind of like putting pictorial information for people to see. People may get kind of like data blind, but they love pictures, okay? And you can produce pictures using PowerPoint, using Excel, or software tools as well, okay? If you want information about that, then just kind of hit me up and direct message me. And then finally, it's probably something that Adam, you mentioned previously about mistakes. I'm using it here actually, in terms of a lot of the time if you make a mistake, own up. Say, okay, I've made this mistake, lessons learnt, I know why I've made the mistake, I know what assumptions was arrived at, I've learned from it, let's move forward. Don't try and deflect it. Don't try and pass it on. Don't try and blame other people. Okay, it's the worst thing you can do, because again, project management or any sort of management is about leadership. It's about kind of culture. It's about kind of like what you're conveying to others. Okay, it's a poor leader who deflects and is seen as deflecting, because your integrity, is your honesty, your compassion is all out the window. Okay, right. I think I've done. I hope you found this useful. These are kind of like the 5 questions that I have been asked, and I tried to provide 3 answers to each question. Okay, so therefore, yeah, I'm probably rebranding this show, for rather than calling it the Project Management Today Show, I'm thinking about kind of like calling it the project management for everyone. Because project management is something that everyone can use. Well, everyone uses it, whether they view themselves as project managers or project leaders, or project supervisors or project coordinators. We all kind of like run our lives as a project. Making an egg, cooking, washing clothes, having a checklist. That's a facet of project management. Okay, so I hope you found this useful. Thank you very much for these questions that were given to me. I've hoped you've kind of like, well, not yourselves necessarily, but I hope kind of like the answers to those questions. Well, hopefully the questions kind of like you found useful, and the answers as well. So that's it for another week. I'm back again next Wednesday at 8 p.m. talking about project management, all things project management. So I'm not quite sure yet what my agenda will be, but stay tuned. So have a great weekend, and this is Sheldon St. Clair of the Project Management Today show. Bye-bye.